Now on to what you guys really want to know. Did Epstein have connections to the CIA/intelligence community? Well, let's take a look into that. But the newly unsealed documents include powerful new evidence that Epstein and Maxwell were deliberately blackmailing people. While nobody has offered hard evidence that intelligence agencies, and in particular the CIA or Mossad, were directly involved in Epstein and Maxwell's blackmailing of public figures, many of the journalists who investigated the Epstein case have concluded that they were running what is known in the intelligence community as a honeypot or honey trap aimed at using sex to blackmail people. In her article, reporter Vicky Ward noted that President Donald Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, was the U.S. attorney for South Florida who arranged the lenient sentence. He'd cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he had been told to back off, that Epstein was above his pay grade, wrote Ward. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, Acosta said, according to Ward.
We'll start with Leslie Wexner and Epstein, who are sort of tied at the hip, have with the U.S. intelligence community or global intelligence.
So the most obvious thing we can see is Southern Air Transport, which was like the CIA before it, pumped and dumped and destroyed itself at the end of the 1990s. So this airline has a really long history. It goes back to Civil Air Transport, and that later became Air America, the CIA-owned airline that was involved in, drug running and illegal shit for decades and decades and decades. And in the 1980s, of course, it was the airline, connected to Iran-Contra stuff, which is arms smuggling, drug smuggling, and other types of illegal activity. So that continued also through the Gulf War in the early 90s. And then a couple years after that, it becomes basically the exclusive courier of stuff for the Limited, Leslie Wexner's company. And this, intimately involved Jeffrey Epstein, who was handling most of logistics for Wexner's business interests at the time. The effort to court Southern Air Transport began in 1993. They were courting both Southern Air Transport and another airline linked to the CIA called Aero Air that was involved with gun running, drug smuggling, and also BCCI, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, which is like an intelligence-linked bank, involved not just in money laundering and financial crimes, but also sex trafficking and a ton of other stuff, really crazy bank to look into.
Do you think that Epstein has a connection to the CIA and or the intelligence communities of the world? Let us know your guys' thoughts and opinions and concerns about this topic in the comments section down below. We'd love to hear them.